Well, there's some folks out there saying I'm beating a dead horse talking about basketball. But this is Indiana. And in Indiana, basketball is mother's milk. Starts from an early age. Even the diapers for kids born in Indiana have cream and crimson stripes on them. That's how big basketball is. Now, speaking of basketball, let's talk about the WNBA Players Association. Well, they're a national organization, right? They got 14 teams around the United States, but probably the biggest team in the United States is headquartered right here in Indianapolis. That's right. The Indianapolis, or the Indy Fever, it's called, and that's where the money machine is. That's the money maker, the queen bee, Caitlin Clark. When she came to the Fever back in 2024, you know what the average attendance was for a Fever game back in 2023? 4,400 people. You heard me right. The average attendance for a Fever game back in 2023 was 4,400. You could fit that in a high school gym and still have plenty of room left over in Indiana. After she arrived, average attendance went up to 17,200. 4,400, 17,200. You do the math. Now, not just locally, television. When she was on TV and the Fever were on TV, 1.8 million people around the United States wanted to watch. That's what this is all about. And as a result, everybody knew the collective bargaining agreement that started back in 2020 would be ended in 2025. So what did all the players in the WNBA do? They all structured their contracts to end right at the end of 2025 to make sure they were in on the big deal when the new collective bargaining agreement was, well, agreed upon. So that's where we are. 2026, they still don't have a collective bargaining agreement, right? No CBA. And it's been going on for what, 16 months? And there's been arguments back and forth, deliberations back and forth. But the Players Union, the Players Association, headed by their 7-member executive committee, last December laid an edict on the line for the owners of the WNBA saying, you know what? Everybody in our union, our 180-player union, has given us the authority, folks, to strike. And they thought that would scare the living whatever out of the owners of the WNBA. Or the women were going to strike and they weren't going to play. That was the lever, the sword that they thought they had over the owners. Well, nothing happened. And suddenly the players are going, well, we have things that we want in our agreement. Why, we want a whole laundry list of things, but the biggest thing we want is we want the same deal that the NBA has. You see, in the NBA, who's been around for many, many years, who makes a lot of money, plays the sold-out games, is popular all around the world, well, the players in the W and the NBA, they get 50-50 revenue sharing. It's the deal that's been worked out between them and the owners. But because the NBA is all around the world, they're making money hand over fist. So the women in the WNBA said, you know, we want the same deal they're getting. We want half the revenue. Owners went, what are you, nuts? We've been losing millions of dollars every single year supporting you clowns. And they have. They've been losing money. Because who cares? The populace, the majority of the populace in America, is not interested in women's professional basketball. Sorry, it's the truth. Until Caitlin Clark showed up. And when she showed up, the world changed. Because suddenly there was a gunner out there having fun playing basketball because she loved it. And she was a three-point, she was a monster at 3 points. And then the team started to grow a little bit with her. Hey, her first year, she got 20-20. That's the way their season ended up. Actually went to the playoffs, didn't go very far, but she at least got into the playoffs. They hadn't been there since 2016. 2024, different animal. Took the Commissioner's Cup, went to the semifinals of the WNBA. But they had a team. I mean, they had a team. This was a run-and-gun team. And it was all run by, well, Caitlin Clark. She's a run and gunner. So everybody knew they had to get moving. It was quick ball. You had to know what was going on. Got some great players. Lexi Hull, brought in Sophie Cunningham from Phoenix. Man, they started to look great. Aaliyah Boston, they were starting to build a nucleus of a great, great team. But everything was still, the underlying problem was that collective bargaining agreement. So proposals went back and forth. The owners said, okay, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. Things like paying for the players' housing. I bet you didn't know that. Yeah, the league pays for the players' housing. And remember when they were riding on commercial airlines for just the longest time, they had to get in line, TSA, like all the rest of us do. They had to ride on commercial airlines, and nobody knows you get the center seat, how bad that is when you're 6'4". Sorry, doesn't work out. Suddenly, when Caitlin Clark came in, security became a very, very big issue because everybody wanted to be around her. So the league had to start to charter custom jets, 757s, 767s, whatever they were flying on. Custom jet. Girls could just walk up to it, saunter on up, carry their meals, walk up the steps. No TSA, no nothing. There they were, flying large, got their own private plane. Those private planes cost a great deal of money to fly. The league had to absorb that. All the stuff going on meant things were getting tough. But people are showing up to the games. Wherever Indy played, man, it was a sold-out situation. They were having to move it from one gym to a bigger gym, simply because the fever commanded that. And people bought tickets, that money, well, owners like that. So at the end of 2025, the owners actually said, hey, we got some revenue to share with you. Gave the ladies some money. The ladies said, well, that's all fine and good, but here's what we want. The want is this. They still want 27.5% of the gross revenue. That's the top revenue. That's where all the money comes in. And then you got to pay bills out of that, pay the players, pay the coaches, pay everybody. And that's the gross. The owners said, ain't going to work. We'll give you 70% of the net. So what's left after we pay everybody, everybody's paid, we'll give you 70% of that, ladies. We'll keep 30% for the owners. Sounds pretty reasonable, but the players said, no. That way you can determine what's an expense. You can expense everything. You know, you can expense your kids going to Disney World. You can expense that in there, and we lose the money. So everybody's at an impasse, right? So here we are, trying to get ready for season 26, and nothing's happened. So what the owners just did was sent the edict out to the Players Association and said, you have until March the 13th. You better sign an agreement. Sign the dotted line, ladies, or else it's going to be hell to pay. The league's we're going to have to delay the games, or maybe even cancel the entire season. Well, suddenly, emotional shifts right there. So last Tuesday, a couple of days ago, they had a Zoom meeting of the Players Association. Yep, a Zoom meeting. And the word that has come out from that, it was very, very contentious. Now, when you understand this, a lot of players, there's 180 players, but only about 44 of them are on that unrivaled new basketball league. There's like 44 in there. They're living large, they're making money. But the rest of them, they're basically free agents. They ain't making a dime. And if the league doesn't start back up again next year, they're going to be out. So right now they're living hand to mouth. Don't even know what's going to be going on. And they're starting to say, you know, back in December, we gave you guys the authorization to strike, and now we're thinking that ain't going to work. That's a bad plan. And that's what came out of that Zoom meeting. But more came out of the Zoom meeting. Agents. I know agents are the bane of existence, but agents representing the players, 9 of them. 9 of them represent about half the players in their union. And they had big-time players. The agents said, we are tired of this mess. We want to be part of this negotiation. We want to see what the heck you were doing. We want to know what's going on. And the league says, well, we're going to send out a survey to the players to see what they think. And the unions and the agents said, we want to see what that survey is. We want to have an input on that survey. We want to know what's going on because you are starting to mess with our income. That's right. You see, the players who have agents, the agents are taking a cut of their money. And if the players don't get any money, the agents don't get any money. And how is the agent going to make a payment on his Mercedes or his BMW if he ain't making money? Simple as that. So the agents are now stepping in, saying, you got to get this mess figured out because this could end in a very bad crash. There could be no league. The owners could say, the heck with it, we're done with it. Well, but hey, the media said, look, we're going to give you billions of dollars to broadcast you. $2.2 billion over the next 10 years. A lot of money. People are wanting to sponsor things. And some people are making out like gold. Some people are making out like gold. There's only a certain small number of players that are making out big. And many of them sit on that executive committee. There's 7 players there. And one of them, Breanna Stewart, she went online and published a tweet or whatever you want to call it nowadays saying, hey, I'm in the unrivaled league. I'm making money. I'm going to be fine. I got endorsements. Hey, if it goes away, I'm not worried about it. She's on the executive committee, folks. You're telling me the players didn't see that? Oh, yeah. She says, I'm living large. Don't worry about me. I'm going to be okay. But the other players are regular folks. Remember, the average length of player exists in the WNBA is 3.7 years. They got to make as much money as they probably can. And they see the deal the owners are offering. They're going from $76,000 up to $500,000 or more, depending on what type of player you are. You can make some serious money, some serious coin. And if you go to Alaska about 3.7 years, you want to make as much coin as you can. Get as much money put away. That's where it stands. So what's going to happen? Well, right now we're waiting to find out who's going to blink first. They got to find an agreement somewhere. Now here's what I think could happen, maybe. The problem is the owners have set a cap on the salary cap to what the teams can spend on players, roughly $6 million. It's like 5.6, but I'll round it off to $6 million. The players want to say, no, we want the salary cap to be $10 million. So you can have more players earn a lot of money, because at $5.6 million, which is the current cap, a max player, one of the best players, would earn a salary of $1.1 to $1.3 million. That's roughly 20% of the entire salary cap for the team. You have 2 or 3 players, max players, they're earning $3+ million. You only got $5.6 million to spend. You're put in a really big box. You won't be able to keep the players you want because they're going to go someplace else. Won't be making any money. So here's what I think could happen. This is my opinion only. The only way this may be settled, hopefully, will be as the players come off of this ridiculous thing of wanting money off the gross top and say, okay, we'll take the deal for 70% of the net. And then the owners will then say, fine, we will raise the salary cap from 5.6 to $10 million. That means they can fit more players in, more players can make the big money, and the other players on the team, for the 10 players they need on the team, will all make a decent cut of the pie. That's probably the best thing that could come out, because if it doesn't, public opinion is going to sway. And believe me, when it starts to sway, it may not work out well. Previously, it's been behind the players saying, oh, they're just trying to get a living. And now greed is coming in. And greed is coming in, and worse than that, the agents are coming in. And the agents are the bane of the existence of everybody. They want this thing settled, and if it's not settled, well, guess what? Things could end up very, very tragically. And a lot of people could be out of a job and wondering, where in the heck am I going to earn my next paycheck? That's what's happening, folks. Now you understand what's going on. And I hope you understand this is the way it could go. And now, well, you know.